welcome to the Christmas episode of the Modern Life Podcast. I am Sam, joined today by Tabby.
Hi.
And Stacy.
Hi.
And today we will be talking about two Christmas movies. You get two for the price of one. We're talking about The Happiest Season, which just came out on Hulu, and we're talking about
Christmas.
I don't even want to remember it. Last Christmas, yes. Foreshadowing. Yeah, and because we're talking about two movies, we're going to skip the modern thoughts entirely and just dive into the abomination that is The Last Christmas.
So The Last Christmas movie, just to give a really quick summary, this is a film with Emilia Clarke. Emma Thompson and her husband were really heavily involved with the film. Emilia Clarke is kind of living a really self-destructive lifestyle.
She's an alcoholic.
Yes, she has some addiction problems. Then she meets a character played by Henry Golding, and she kind of rediscovers the spirit of Christmas. This movie was really famous last year for everybody figuring out from the trailer that he was a ghost.
He was a ghost.
And we thought, oh, let's pick this. This will be a fun, bad movie. This will be like Carl Urban Dread. We're going to have
Carl Urban Dread's a good time.
Right, but it's a bad movie. And this one was not fun and just bad.
I'm going to correct you because you said we picked it and I picked it.
Which is why he's not allowed to pick movies
fully
anymore.
Responsible.
Just for the record, ever again.
I'm like, yeah, this looks like a terrible, fun movie. And it wasn't fun at all. It was just terrible. It only had one of the two things that I was looking for. I don't even know where to start with this movie.
I think, first of all, what really irritated us is the lore around the ghost mechanics, because a lot of the time he wasn't able to open doors and cupboards, but then half the time he did open the door, like when they were in the ice rink. I'm like, okay, then pick one.
There's a big twist where she comes back to what she thinks is his apartment, but it's not because he's a ghost. And, like, finds his cell phone in the cupboard he hasn't had his cell phone all movie long. And the twist is he couldn't get to it because it's in the cupboard and he's a ghost, so he can't open the cupboard. Yet, like, 30 minutes before that, he opens the door for her to the same apartment so he can open stuff. And it's totally inconsistent.
I think it's also fair to say that we watched this on 0.10 speed. Like the second half.
Yeah, about halfway through, we're like, can't take this anymore, but we're doing a podcast on it. So we started
skipping around.
We watched it on the PlayStation, and there's this beautiful feature where it just goes like a little faster. It's like what, like 2.5 times the speed, I think. And so we knocked out the second half of the movie in like 20 minutes. We just need to know what would happen.
There were just no reasons for anything, because Emilia Clarke was this really kind of promiscuous, good for her. I'm not judging that, but like pretty thirsty character. Yet suddenly she didn't want nothing to do with hot Henry Golding, who's hanging around, which is like there was never a reason given why these people are suddenly not friends or why they wouldn't like each other. Everybody spoke like an alien. There was
there's just like a lack of chemistry between the characters.
Yeah.
Like you want, when you watch like a rom-com of any sort, that's like the most important thing is the chemistry. And if it's not there, it's like watching two statues try to like interact with each other with no give and take. Like it's just two people reporting lines. Like it just doesn't work.
Some memorable scenes that stuck out to me. Emilia Clarke is working at a Christmas shop. The shop owner is is she Chinese?
Michelle Yeoh is not old. What are you saying
How old
right
is she?
now?
She's elderly.
No, she's not.
How old is she?
She's in her 50s. That's not old.
Okay, she's middle-aged. Sorry, Jesus.
That's better.
My God. She's working for her, but she's Chinese, right?
I think
Seriously,
so.
I just need a minute.
Oh, my God.
So Michelle Yeoh is the owner of this Christmas shop.
And her nickname is Santa. She goes by Santa because she owns a Christmas shop. And at one point in the movie, Emilia Clarke finds out that Santa is not her real name, and this is like a legit scene in the movie, and Emilia Clarke goes, "What? Your name isn't actually Santa?"
I think that's like my biggest problem is like so unlikable from start to
Your
finish.
name isn't Santa Claus.
Yeah, you never could root for her.
No, like I understand that some people have like addiction problems. I trust me, no one gets it better than me, but there's nothing likable about her. She's just so self-centered and selfish. And
The people who suffered from addiction, did they have to work at it, or was there just a ghost moment and they were immediately
there
cured?
is definitely not a ghost moment, and it's definitely something you have to work at on a daily basis. And they definitely can't. I mean, you know, they have selfish moments, but usually when you hit rock bottom is when you like almost die. It's not the opposite way where like she almost died and then she became an alcoholic. For me, that was like, you hit rock bottom and this is your way of repaying people for like all the love and support. And just her way she acted toward her mom, I just despised her character.
I did actually Google that. Post-op depression, that self-destructive behavior is an actual thing. And I think if they would have portrayed that with any kind of respect, I would have been there for it. I think the other thing that really pops in my head here that did such an amazing job of it is Russian Doll, where at first you really did not like that character. And then you kind of learned why she was doing all these self-destructive things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely better portrayed, because I remember in the beginning of watching that show, I was
You
like,
didn't like her.
I hated her, and then toward the end I was like, okay, I like her a little bit more, but I never grew to like this woman.
Right, Emilia Clarke.
No.
By the way, Michelle Yeoh was born in West Malaysia.
Malaysia. Sorry.
Yeah, so her and Henry Golding never actually have sex in the film, but they still have this weird, you're still kissing a ghost, and
Another scene that stuck out is there's this romance between Michelle Yeoh and some guy that just comes into the shop, and it's not an organic romance in any way, shape, or form. It's just totally bizarre, like an alien wrote this script.
but it's not funny either.
Yeah, I was perplexed as to what was happening when that scene was happening. I was like, do these people know each other? Is this like a weird shtick? So the guy walks in the shop and he's just like, oh my god, he like sees Michelle Yeoh and just starts talking like he's from outer space and just landed on Earth. Like, you know, in Men in Black when the alien like takes over the body.
Yeah.
And then all movie long, this guy is just hanging out outside of this shop, like
Yeah, he's a serial killer.
creeper.
Yeah.
It could have been cute, and it was just so weird. I'm sorry, who wrote the script? What's her name?
I looked it up. Emma Thompson and her husband came up with the story idea. The
Okay.
person who did the script, she really hasn't done anything else either. Another really strange part of this film was Emilia Clarke was supposed to be this amazing singer, and the movie starts off with this scene of
Forgot about
a church choir, and Emilia Clarke is a little kid, and the singing is really bad, and I'm waiting for the joke. I'm waiting for the joke to happen. Her mom is sitting in the pew crying, and I'm like, where? And then the scene ends, and there was no joke. And I was like, okay. And then it goes back to the end of the film, and Emilia Clarke is still a really terrible
Mediocre,
singer.
just thin voice.
And I'm like, oh, am I supposed to believe? Like, I've heard a person sing. Like, I have access to the radio. Like, am I supposed to believe that she can
the
make
AM
it?
radio. Well, either dub her or pick some. If
so
this is supposed to be
weird.
someone who's good at singing, there's a million actresses that are good at singing.
many
that you
options.
could have picked. Oh, it was so terrible.
Yeah, another part that I also thought was really awkward were these two coppers who kept showing up, and I think it was supposed to be this like 1930s like two police officers like slapstick comedy.
Good cop,
and
bad cop. You
Nobody,
see?
again, we were not laughing.
Oh man, it was
And-
not funny.
The only other thing that really, really made me angry was there's a scene of Emilia Clarke just basically talking to herself while a bus is waiting for her, because she's talking to Henry Golding, but he's not actually there because he's a ghost. And it was just one of those moments where I realized nobody involved in this film has ever taken the bus. Because the bus driver is just sitting there waiting for her to be done talking to herself. Like, he has no time schedule to keep or...
No, we all know bus drivers are very patient and nice to everybody.
They always wait for you when you're running after them.
Yeah. You know, she thinks she's talking to someone, but she's talking to a ghost. So from the bus driver's perspective, she's just talking to herself. And a good...
5 minutes.
I mean, that's exaggerating. A good 90 seconds, 2 minutes go by, and this bus driver is just sitting there, and finally he's like, are you gonna come on? Or like, what? What are you doing? Like he has nowhere to go. I'm like, this is a bus driver. Where does this take place? In London?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is a bus driver
Yeah.
in London. Yeah, I'm sure he's super patient. He's just gonna wait for your ass.
During the Christmas season.
Oh my God.
Yeah, just the way this movie was so flippant about refugee trauma and also addiction was just not cute.
Oh, the
insulting.
husband, her dad.
Absolutely insulting.
Her dad was what, like a cab driver, right? I forget.
That was like some really sad history.
He just drives
there.
around at night, you know, staying away from his wife because he hates it so much at home. I'm like, this is a really funny romantic comedy. Ha ha ha.
Merry Christmas. Yeah.
God.
It was very depressing, and there was not one ray of...
There's no redeeming
light.
qualities to it.
It was just so bad.
I wouldn't even care about any of this if it was just
fun.
funny or charming or anything.
Yeah.
I was all in for a dumb Christmas movie, and it was too dumb. Which brings us to my second fabulous choice this Christmas movie.
Again, why he's not allowed to choose movies.
After I just, hit the bullseye with Last Christmas, Tabby and Stacy thought it was a great idea to let me pick another movie.
Between Jingle Jangle and Happiest Season.
And Jingle Jangle, I watched the trailer, I'm like, yeah, this looks like a lot. This is like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory on 10 pounds of cocaine. I'm like, okay. And then that Kristen Stewart movie came out on Hulu, the Happiest Season. I'm like, I like Kristen Stewart. And so we went with that. And we probably should have gone with Jingle Jangle.
I've heard nothing bad about Jingle Jangle.
Oh, no. I even looked up, because after that was such an abomination. I looked up, okay, what are just all the modern Christmas movies, are they terrible, or am I just sucking at picking movies? I went to Rotten Tomatoes, like, best modern Christmas movies, top 20, and guess what was number one on their list? Jingle Jangle, which only just came out.
That's amazing.
Okay, the Happiest Season.
All right, let me do a really quick summary.
God, please.
Kirsten Stewart's character Abby is about to propose to her girlfriend Harper. She is gonna do this at her girlfriend's family's Christmas party, to which she has been invited. On the car ride over, she finds out that Harper is not out to her parents, and that not only is she in the closet, but she's forcing Abby to pretend to be heterosexual, and the two are not in a relationship. What follows is just multiple days of emotional abuse towards Kristen Stewart's character, but there's a happy end, and the two get back together, and the spirit of Christmas just magically makes this horrible family be really accepting and
well, it's like this age-old, meet the Fockers type thing, and then they're like, oh, let's make it with two lesbians, let's be woke. I'm like, I'm all in. Kristen Stewart, let's do it. Like female Keanu Reeves. And it just, again, marketed as a romantic comedy, and I kept waiting for the romance and the comedy to come into the movie. But according to the 5-star Google reviews I read, this movie was very funny and a very good depiction of a healthy lesbian relationship. Which, like, this was like Christmas lesbian version of the movie Get Out. Like, I had you too.
I had anxiety.
I walked out of the room at one point. I just couldn't. All the abuse she was getting, Kristen Stewart, it's just not enjoyable.
So just to set this up, she is stuck there at these rich people's house, and at one point she even checks the rideshare app.
She's like, I have to get out. Get out.
And it's like she realizes she's trapped at this house, and that was the point where I was like, oh my god, it's like, get out.
Well, she's so far away that, you know, getting an Uber would be like $1,000. Yeah,
Well,
like,
I mean, it also is important to set up the fact that, like, from the beginning, it's like the very first part of the movie, like, they go into the fact that she hates Christmas. She's, like, not a Christmas person because her parents passed away, like, right around
Oh,
Christmas.
is she an orphan? Is she?
Yeah, she's,
Did
an,
I-
she's
she's
an
an
orphan.
orphan?
Oh,
I
you didn't know
that.
she was an orphan?
I didn't know that.
Oh, my God.
I didn't catch
You should
that.
really know that she's an orphan.
Yeah, someone, you know, the people that made this movie thought it would be a really good idea to put an orphan joke literally every 90 seconds into the movie. So I'm like, it was just not funny. You can have funny orphan jokes. That's totally cool. But you can't make the same joke every 2 minutes and have it also be an orphan joke. There was just nothing funny about it. But the movie starts, because I know you want to ask Stacy about this. They're walking down Candy Cane Lane
Stacy, what is
here
Candy
in Los
Cane Lane?
Angeles.
You've
Candy
lived there.
Cane Lane is a row of streets in the San Fernando Valley.
That was just one street.
No, it's a
Oh, it's a row?
It's a row of streets.
Yeah, I
it's
don't
like
know
a
much about it.
crisscross. Like you have to drive down one street. It's like something like traditionally growing up. Like I would get in the car.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this isn't something that I just moved onto the street. Like I get into a car every Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
We would sit on the hood of the car or in the back of the car, and we'd wrap up in blankets, and we'd go and look at all of the
Give a little hot
beautiful
cocoa.
not usually, because we were in a car, but or on the hood of the car, which is not exactly super safe. But you know, anyway, we would drive down these streets like.
Oh wait,
all
you were on
around-
the hood and someone was driving the car?
Oh yeah, that
Wait,
was a
what?
thing. Yeah, or in the back of the car, you would like sit there. It was you're not going fast.
It
Like,
was the 80s.
yeah. No, it was not the 80s, it was the 90s. But thank you for aging me way more than you needed to.
could've gone
Really
when you were, like-
nailing this aging thing.
Could have gone when you were like 8 or 9
anyway.
years old. That's not so weird. Jesus Christ.
Okay, anyway.
Thank God.
It was like an 2-hour thing where you'd like literally
Mm-hmm.
drive by houses, but it was like gorgeous, like best decorations you'll ever
And
see.
Stacy,
it's
did you
every
end
single
up
house.
living on Candy Cane Lane at some point in your life?
Accidentally, growing up, we stopped going to Candy Cane Lane, and I may have forgotten exactly where Candy Cane Lane was because I hadn't gone in a while. And we ended up renting a house on Candy Cane Lane, and during the Christmas season,
You couldn't get out of your house.
oh no, you couldn't leave. And there was random people stopping at all times of the night to snap pictures. It made me hate Candy Cane Lane, and I have not been back since.
Is it part of your like HOA that you have to decorate the house and stuff like that?
It was part of our lease agreement. They did provide the decorations.
Oh, interesting.
But they did not supplement our electricity bill for it.
Yeah. No shit.
So that was fun. So it was
Fascinating.
It was quite interesting. I understand Kristen Stewart's point of view on the whole thing because to me, I felt exactly like she did. I don't ever remember tours walking through there though. Like someone like walk by each house and tell stories. Like that was never something I saw.
Right, because they would just be like, Stacy lives here and you don't know her.
Yeah, I and I don't really understand the whole idea of like having somebody walk you around the streets.
Right.
It was always something you got in the car and you drove through. I don't ever even living there remember
Well,
a
you
lot of
haven't
people.
been back in a while. So.
That's true. That's true. Maybe it's changed.
So this movie is like so full of like you just saw everything coming from 2 miles away.
That's okay.
Which is fine, but before she leaves, she has her, gay friend who is the only redeeming character in this
he's
whole
amazing.
movie. And she's like, you have to take care of my pets. And you have to feed the cat this way. And you have to feed the dog this way. And you have to lock the door that way. Oh, and don't forget about the fish. And she's like, are you even listening to me? And he's like, oh yeah, I'm listening. What did you say? And you're like, this guy's going to kill the fish. You know.
Okay,
of course, the
I thought
closest
he's gonna
friend
kill the
kills
fish. That's fine. I don't even mind that relationship, but the fact that she was asked to go to the family's house when she has like other responsibilities and like things that are paying when the woman hasn't even come out yet to her parents, like how delusional and messed up are you in the head?
Oh, you mean her girlfriend?
Yeah.
I thought about that because that was a lot of the reviews by people in the queer community who said, maybe I'm not out to my family, but I would never force anyone, especially someone I
Yeah.
love, to pretend to be in the closet or like bring them to my house or put them in like a semi-dangerous situation.
It's so ridiculous. Like my sister's bisexual, I'm bisexual, like, and the whole time, like I can never imagine this scenario where this woman is like gonna ask somebody to spend Christmas with the love of her life, who she lives with, and then decide on the car ride home or the next morning and panic. even if you panic the next morning, the fact that she let her get in the car, like I can't even believe the amount of selfishness that would occur in that situation. I'm baffled.
I accepted it because I was like, okay, we got to get this movie going somehow. This is the situation.
Right.
This is how we get there. I'm like,
Sure,
fine. This is the conflict.
If this was the one problem, I think I could
right,
have gotten
and
over
then it was just a cascade of even more terrible stuff happening. I was like, okay, I'm not ready for this.
Yeah, they put her downstairs, and she has no privacy down there whatsoever.
There's no
Everyone's
lock
just
on the
coming
door.
in and out of her room. There were
Without knocking.
your favorite, the evil twins. There's always evil twins.
No, I don't like evil twin children. How is that? That's not funny. I don't want them in my movie.
That whole entire thing was like, how old were they supposed to be? But they looked a little older than they were supposed to be, and then they were way more malicious than any 6-year-old or 7-year-old that I've ever seen.
Right, because they didn't even know her.
Yeah.
It's just a stranger, like, in their house. Like,
I mean,
why?
I get that they were maybe going through some stuff, because you find out later they were going through some stuff, but it still didn't comprehend or make sense that they would be... I get that there's evil children in the world, but it just didn't work for me. There was just no character buildup. There was no likability in any of the characters. It was really bad.
From the second she gets there, it's just a complete crapshoot. The middle of the oldest sister is a complete biatch to her. I forget the character's name.
Sloane?
The one with the kids?
Yeah.
No, yeah. And then the little sister, who is also the co-writer of the movie, seemed like she was special needs to me, but was never addressed. Like the only one. She acted so weird.
She had very weird social skills in the sense that she was exceptionally affectionate and happy all the time, but she was just like constantly treated like she was the extra person in the room that shouldn't be there.
It was like how she would say things and follow everyone around, and it seemed like someone with like a mild case of like autism or something, but it was like never addressed that way.
Definitely some kind of social disorder.
Strange character.
Out of all the family, she's the only one I liked.
Yeah, she's the nicest one.
And if they would have made that a thing, like, oh, my sister has like some behavioral issues.
I think that would have made more sense to me.
And not just never talk about it and just say like, oh, her parents just completely neglect her somehow.
Yeah.
She has this like trauma that she gets one line to address, and then the family's all happy now. Like, that takes years of like family therapy, It doesn't just take one Christmas photo to like be over.
a little too hard on you. Bring it in, everybody.
Yeah.
And Kristen Stewart's girlfriend just kind of starts ignoring her, treating her like crap, coming home drunk at 2 a.m.
Oh my god, that entire scene was just so
not
infuriating
texting
to
her
me.
back. And then kind of giving her the cold shoulder, but then every time her ex-boyfriend, Connor, comes in, she's like, oh my God, Connor! But she's not even into him. And I'm just like, oh, it was just so awful. And I was like, Kristen Stewart, you need to leave. You need to
And then comes the ex-girlfriend who no one knows about because she's not an
Aubrey
ex-girlfriend.
Plaza.
Who is amazing.
And
is the one that
agrees.
Kristen Stewart should have ended up with.
Everyone agrees on that.
Because she was an actual human being and had like emotional depth.
Well, and then you find out, so Kristen Stewart's girlfriend was dating Aubrey Plaza, Aubrey Plaza, and lied to Kristen Stewart that she came out in high school about that, right?
Well, no, she forced her to come out in high school. So the story is that one of the girls found a love letter in the lead, what's her name?
Harper's
locker.
Harper.
And it was from Aubrey, so she just like made up this entire lie that it was she was the lesbian. She forced her out of the closet and then kept her own secrecy, and then she had to go through years of torture in high school without any. And this is like supposedly not only her lover but her best friend, right?
Right.
Ugh, I'm so angry.
Well, I think the thing that was also a really strange choice was the family's not just kind of bigoted, but they're just really mean and evil all around.
Nice.
Oh, what did the mother do about
white elephant?
The white elephant gift, where she's like yelling at her for putting it under the tree, like, don't you know that? And then she like makes another like joke about her being an orphan and is like, what, did you not have trees?
50th orphan joke.
Oh my god, it was just...
No, Kristen Stewart comes back with the white elephant gift, and Kristen Stewart hasn't celebrated Christmas in like 10 years. But she's just... comes up to mom. She's like, where should I put this white elephant gift? And the mom's like, well, under the Christmas tree, obviously. And then she goes, oh, I'm so sorry. You're an orphan. You probably never had Christmas.
And then she goes, my brooch disappeared. Like, if it turns up suddenly.
And then accuses her of stealing. All in the same
conversation.
30 seconds.
Yes.
Yeah, well, there's a reason they think that she stole. I know, but I'm not explaining it because this woman is evil
but it's not even just the family. It's all the friends.
Yeah.
It's the assistant who has the affair with the husband. Like, everybody just treats Kristen Stewart like she's less than garbage.
Why? I don't even understand why.
Yeah, it's strange choice again. It basically just seems like she's completely abandoned in this house again. Again, it's like, get out. Her best friend finally shows up, and you're like, oh my god, please,
just
Dan
leave,
Levy, get her out of here.
The most upsetting part to me, this is right around the time when I walked out of the room, is at the climax of the movie, the sisters have this huge fight. Sloane ends up taking the picture.
One of them, yeah.
Of the little sister. The little sister drew that huge painting for her white elephant gift. And she takes it and like smashes it over her sister. And this was like a hand-drawn, huge canvas.
Who she's been bragging about. I mean, she's been bragging about her white elephant gift for like at least a couple scenes in the movie. So you know she's like so proud of it.
The little sister's like, I worked 100 hours on this. Like, what is wrong with you? And like, again, nobody cares about the little sister.
No consequences, yeah.
Like, oh my, like, everyone is so awful in this movie.
So
like,
self-absorbed.
How is this funny? Like, oh, I'm going to take your painting and smash it over my sister because that's hilarious. Like, oh my god.
I honestly have a lot to say about that final scene where evil sister Sloane finds out that Harper is gay, and her first instinct is to out her to the parents just to get back at her or something. And I thought that was so...
Well, before you go on, out her to the parents at the Christmas party that is also the fundraiser for the dad to be mayor. Go on.
Yes. And that was a decision that I thought was so reprehensible and vindictive, and there was no coming back or redeeming this character in any way, shape, or form.
No, everything was fine like 2 minutes later.
And then they have this chase scene where Harper tries to catch up with her and they kind of grab each other. And this fun, jolly music starts playing. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? I'm having like anxiety right now about how horrible this family is and how everybody's lives is getting destroyed. And it's like this slapsticky, haha, isn't this funny moment? And I'm like, it's not funny. It's really making me like upset watching this. And then, like, they find out that her and her husband are getting a divorce, and now it's a race to whoever.
Oh, because you also saw, like, they open the closet door, and, like, there's the husband, like, hooking up with
the assistant.
The assistant. And you're just like, wait, what?
Yeah, but they're already, like, divorced at that point, right?
Separated.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's just the fact that they're, like, pretending.
I just don't get really how is this a comedy when everyone is awful and awful things continue to happen, and I just like.
I don't find it funny when you beat up on one character for like, and somebody who's genuinely like just trying to be nice.
And you think about the fact that she was about to propose to this woman. Like, it's so hurtful to, like, watch everything happen. So then, just to continue from that scene, Sloane outs Harper to the entire family. First of all, from a writing standpoint, I thought that was a really strange choice, because I think for Harper to achieve the growth this movie was trying to do, Harper had to make the decision to come out to the family and kind of make that decision on her own. So I was like, this is strange. Then Harper doesn't stick by Abby in that scene because the movie hasn't met its length yet or whatever. And Harper says, no, she's lying. Abby's nothing to me. I'm like, okay, so this is the point where this relationship is over.
Is super healthy. Yeah. It's a super healthy depiction of a lesbian relationship.
Right, so at that point, Kristen Stewart leaves, as she should. And then
run.
Harper runs her down. She's like, no, just give me one more chance. It's like, oh my god.
No. So Abby comes back, and then Harper has this moment of like, oh no, I really do love her, and Abby goes, it's too late. Like, I'm getting my stuff. It's too late. I'm leaving. So that moment, again, from a writing perspective, now it just feels like that character is doing damage control because she's lost the relationship with her family. So now she's just holding on to Abby. And I, as a viewer, can no longer believe in the myth of the romance or the, you know, these people. She's saying that because these people have a relationship. So that whole series of events I thought was really strangely written to make Harper and Abby get back together, because I saw no way for them to get back together.
The other thing is, like, you've seen from the beginning that, like, her best friend doesn't like anything that's, like, doesn't represent a positive thing for his friend. Like, he's very protective of her.
Dan Levy, you mean?
Yeah, the best friend.
Oh, yes, he's very protective
and then
of her.
you see in this scene where he's like, oh, but he knows what she's been going through.
Right.
And I'm like, no, as a best friend, I would be like, no, girl, you can't. Like, it would not be a possibility. I would be standing in between them being like, no, you don't deserve my friend. And I don't know, maybe that's the loyalist in me, but like, and I get that there's maybe differences in like having to come out when you're like so closeted, but again, you made the decision to do this from the beginning. Like, she was perfectly okay staying home with her animals and like waiting. You invited her to this chaos that you hadn't dealt with. I just don't grasp his acceptance of it either, which I liked him through the entire movie, and I still like him. He's probably one of my favorites, but I just, during that exact moment, I'm like, I don't think I'd be reacting that way if I was acting the way he had been acting throughout the entire movie.
I was done with the Harper character halfway through after Kristen Stewart's getting ignored, and Harper's like, you know what, like tonight, like let's spend time, and they like invites her out like to the bar, right, to get a drink. Turns out like Harper's there with all her other friends. It's not like a one-on-one thing.
Who are also terrible, because everyone in this movie's
And then
terrible.
when Kristen Stewart's like, you know, like, I think I'm ready to go home, Harper's like, oh, I kind of want to stay and hang out with my friends. Like, do you mind? It's like, yeah, it's great one-on-one time. And Kristen Stewart goes home and is just laying in bed trying to text Harper. And it's like, what, 1:30 in the morning? She's like, are you okay? Like, are you home yet? And like, nothing. And then at 2 a.m. in the morning gets a text back that's like, I'm home, night.
Healthy relationship.
And then
what we all strive for.
Kristen Stewart then wakes her up in the morning. She's like, oh, I was just worried about you. Like, everything okay? She goes, and then Harper's like, oh, I didn't know I had a curfew. I'm just like, what is happening right now?
You're suffocating me.
What? She's like, I need some more space. And literally 12 hours before, to Kristen Stewart, like, oh, I'm so sorry about my shitty family. Like, let's spend some time together. And 12 hours later, she's like, I need some space, and you're suffocating me. And like,
or the fact that she's
like,
there.
This person sucks.
Yeah. Or the fact that Kristen Stewart's even there. Like, if you wanted time, you shouldn't have invited her.
You're asking Kristen Stewart to come out, pretend she's straight, then she's getting ignored by you, abused by your family, and then you invite her out. You don't spend any time with her, and then you like
stay out with your ex-boyfriend.
Like what? I was done at that point. I'm like, what is going on right now? Like, it's so bizarre.
Another thing I thought was strange was the younger sister always goes on about her novel that she's writing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fantasy novel. Nobody really takes her
Nobody
seriously.
gives a crap. No.
And then I thought the painting that she keeps hyping up would be a fantasy scene from her novel. And it's just this really boring picture of Main Street. And I was like, again, strange choice, because there was never a line of like the dad saying, oh, I really love this town, or I really love Main Street, or they keep hyping the painting and the book. So I thought it was going to be, I was going to at least laugh at that. Like it was going to be this cool fantasy scene with dragons.
Yeah.
And then it's just like an oil painting of Main Street, and I'm like, okay.
It's also random where she's set up as this writer all movie long, and then her white elephant gift is this big painting. You're like, oh, that
is she a painter or
just
a writer?
like that's awesome. She can write and paint, but it's just like the character is never quite.
And she's a
fleshed
tech
out.
expert. Yeah.
Well, maybe that's the point. She's just really good at everything, and no one's paying attention
No
to
one's
her.
paying attention. Wow, that's really uplifting.
She was the best sister, and then what's his name? Dan Levy, the gay friend. He really has the only funny lines in the movie that made me chuckle, and the rest was
Aubrey
just...
Plaza was kind of funny too.
Aubrey Plaza's always great.
A doctor and
she was. Yeah, those are the only three kind of sane people, and the rest just wasn't funny. Like I don't.
Something else I always chuckle at in movie, and this time I was really angry about it. I think it's because we're going through COVID. But it's set up that Abby is a student and Harper is a writer. These are not people who are extremely wealthy or well off. It's also mentioned that they only have a 1-bedroom apartment. You see the apartment in the beginning of the film. It's this huge living room. They have like a kitchen. They have these big windows. There's an upstairs. The movie version of what LA is like is just infuriating me right now as
It's
I'm
like
seeing,
the Friends apartment.
Yeah, as I'm seeing like so many people living on the street right now, and rent is only going up more, even though nobody has a job. And I'm like, fuck you, Hollywood. Like, it's not funny. Like, you set up in your own film that they only have a 1-bedroom apartment, and you can't get the right location for your 1-bedroom apartment. Like,
It's always like that, though. If someone has an apartment in New York, it's
over
like this huge apartment.
I'm done with
like,
it.
This would cost like $10,000
yeah,
a month.
It's not cute anymore. There was one shot that I thought was very relatable, and it was of somebody doing a puzzle and one piece was missing.
Yeah, it was Dan Levy.
Yeah, I was
He goes, I'm busy right now. He's like, stupid puzzle. Where's Yeah, that's Tabby all day.
There is a line that Dan Levy said that really resonated. I mean, he had some really good lines.
Yeah, he's some good. He's like
He had some good little speeches.
the most well-written character in the whole movie.
He says, there's nothing more erotic than concealing your authentic selves. He says it as a joke. But it reminded me, this is kind of unrelated, but it reminded me of this interview that Sir Ian McKellen once gave. And somebody asked him what it was like growing up gay. In Britain, it was illegal to be homosexual until 69, 70. So
Sounds
very,
about right.
very late.
Yeah.
Very late. And he said, yeah, I think people always have this notion of like, ooh, this fun secrecy, and you're going to the underground nightclubs and blah, blah, blah. And after a while, that just wears off, and you are so exhausted, and all you want to do is just hold your partner's hand in public. Yeah. And that line kind of reminded me of that. And the whole film, it just has this weight on it of...
No, Kristen Stewart says it's fun to have a little secret. She says it about 90 minutes in, I believe.
It like had some good ideas and then didn't execute them in any way.
Do we know who wrote this?
Yes, it's the woman who plays the younger sister.
The youngest sister is one of the writers, and then the other writer, I don't
is
remember.
Is an actress.
She is, and this is really...
And she also directed it.
So my question is...
It's her first real directing thing.
Are either of them like
gay?
Lesbian or gay or...
I don't know.
I'm just curious because I feel like there was also a lack of like... It just, to me, there was like a...
Disconnect.
A disconnect. Like...
Yeah, but it wasn't a disconnect to me about... It's a disconnect just about people in general. It has nothing to do with being a lesbian or not. It was just a disconnect in how people act. I don't know.
Just the fact that people would think that that's like a normal relationship, let alone a normal lesbian relationship. It's just like...
it's not a disconnect in how people act, because there's plenty of people that act like that and they're awful, but I don't know how that's a comedy movie.
A Christmas movie, yeah.
I'm saying what makes Scrooge such a classic, right? The Dickens tale, such a classic thing, is that he is redeemed at the end, right? And he like, here, you have a turkey, and you look under your seat, and you get a turkey, right? He turns into Oprah.
Well, you see like a growth process, though, like a little bit.
Yeah, there's a growth. He's redeemed, and the Sloane character is not redeemed at the end. It's that
not
scene
only
at
redeemed,
the end.
she's just, there's like no growth. Like you don't believe that she like became a better person. Like you just think that she's
right. But coming back to Tabby's point, I think it would have been redeeming when her sister outs her in front of the whole family. Then she takes responsibility. And she's like, you know what? Screw you. And yeah, I am a frickin' lesbian. I love Kristen Stewart over there.
I wouldn't have given that power to the sister.
There was just not that redeeming moment. And then denying your relationship again and letting Kristen Stewart walk out of the door, and then you chase her down 2 hours later. Like, I just need one more chance. That's not redeeming.
It was the fact that she couldn't do it in public, but could do it in a private setting with her family.
Yeah.
It was like, wait, like I get that her family is who she was hiding most from, but the fact that you couldn't like come out to your friends or your, like, I don't know, it was just, it wasn't redeemable.
I have a positive thing to say.
Yeah.
Kristen Stewart's bathroom in the basement has a turquoise wallpaper with cheetahs on it, and it is incredible.
Fabulous.
I don't know if anybody noticed that.
I did not notice the
Wow.
wallpaper bathroom. I'm sorry. I apologize.
okay.
I failed you in that area.
Yeah, this is the most negative Christmas episode of all time.
Yeah, I wanted to say something about that security scene, but I've already hated on this movie so much that...
Oh, where the kids make it look like Kristen Stewart stole something?
and there's the two...
Oh, again, the two cops. You always gotta have the two cops.
The two security guards who have
Those
Kristen
actors
Stewart,
are actually very funny. They were just not funny in
Which
this
is like, you
movie.
get these really funny actors and they're still not funny. What are you doing
Yes,
wrong?
well, there's no material to work with.
And also the idea that that's something that can happen in real life when shop owners have no protection from any kind of theft. They cannot stop you. They cannot do anything about it. Shoplifting is a huge issue if you own any kind of retail store, but I don't know. Everything
These are some good
annoyed
mall
me.
cops. They got her.
Everything annoyed me about this.
Everything annoyed you. It just made me physically upset at just how terrible this movie was. And I feel crazy because this movie has like 80% on Rotten Tomatoes and has more 5-star reviews on Google than like negative reviews. I'm just like, am I the crazy one?
Well, it just seems like every Christmas movie we've watched lately, it's just not as good as the old ones.
2003 was the last great year of Christmas movie. We had Elf and Love Actually in the same year.
When did Holiday come out?
I don't know, a little later than that.
Okay, so maybe that was the last, because I really like that movie.
I wanted to like this movie. I came in like
I like
I'm ready.
I like Kristen Stewart.
No.
I like Audrey Plaza. There was some good cast in it. It was just not a good movie. Sorry.
Can't recommend either of them.
Merry Christmas.
Read us out, Tabby.
You can find us at modernlifepodcast.com, on Instagram and Twitter at modernlifepod. You can email us, modernlifepod@gmail.com, and have a merry holiday season.
Have a better Christmas than
Kristen Stewart.
either of the than Kristen
Amelia
Stewart.
Clarke.
That's right. That's right.
It goes under that tree, obviously.